All right, welcome to Lesson 3, Research Methodology in EdPsych. So let's just jump right in. Here we go. So the objectives for Lesson 3 today this is what I'm hoping you will get out of this lesson, is that you'll be able to begin to critique foundational education ideologies, again, specific to concepts in EdPsych. I want you to start to apply critical thinking to text and research. You will be, in your time here at MHC, we want you to be critically thinking about text and about research. And I want to start you down the path of developing academic research skills. Why? All on the journey to becoming the most amazing, inspiring teacher you can be. That's underlying why we do all of these things. Okay, so what you're going to do is, for next class, is you are going to, with your reading buddy, answer which EdPsych founder might be heard saying education is not preparation for life, education is life itself. A little bit of a throwback to that history section. And this is part of the reading from this week. Is for my research project, I met with 6 teachers over 5 weeks for 2 hours each week. We discussed educational philosophy and theory and practice. I, as a researcher, then examined themes about differing views on philosophy. Which approach to research is my study? So that is the question you're going to be discussing with your reading buddy. But let's jump into research. Why do we as teachers need to know about research methodologies? You know, we're like, let me in the classroom with my grade 2s, and that's kind of what I want to do. However, we need to know about research methodology because we need to be able to ground how we teach in our practice and observations. We need to get in there. We need to practice. We need to observe. We need to be able to reflect, like reflective practitioners. Then we need to be able to self-analyze, and that's where the research comes in. What are you going to base your self-analysis on? So that's when you're going to go out and research. Something is happening in your class, you go, I don't know much about that, and then you research it. It's also a bit of you're going to hear this in tutorial, the concept of retell. So what's happening in the class, and then reflect, and then self-analysis. So that's basically. So we need to do this because it is our practice, and it is, again, what we do as teachers all the time. Okay, so hopefully from your readings, you had a little bit of a look at some of the different types of research methodologies. Oh, look, I am right. I don't know where to go here. Maybe right there. I'll just go right. Actually, I'll just kind of go right there. Okay, so basically quantitative research methods if you think about quantity as a number, it's usually quantitative research methods are based on some kind of numbers. So basically it emphasizes objective measurement and numerical analysis of data. Uses numerical data to generalize it across groups or a particular phenomena, and it determines the relationship between one thing and another. Okay, so it is very much about this is happening, this is the cause, and this is the effect. So they can make these generalizations because usually it's a large sample size, and they're finding because of their large sample size they can actually make a causal relationship. This caused this. Now, again, there's always going to be controversy in that, but quantitative research methods generally make those broader statements. In this situation, this will happen, and can be fairly sure about it. So, for example, I'm going to just give you an example. So this could be an educational psychology test, is to test whether a new way of teaching spelling is more effective than the one currently used. You might change how you teach halfway through your spelling program and then compare the test results. You then would get a pretty good idea of which spelling program gave the best results. Okay, so that's quantitative. Let's look at, this is what was described in your reading around descriptive and experimental. So a descriptive quantitative research method is described how or what a situation is as it actually exists. Okay, then it determines relationships and it can actually make predictions about the future. So, for example, this is a descriptive quantitative research project. So I'm going to just move myself back here. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this is a descriptive research method. Numerous studies show there's a positive relationship between high school grades and university performance. Thus, high school grades are used to make decisions about university entrance because the research has shown grades to consistently predict a reasonable expectation for university success. So that's a descriptive one. Experimental, it manipulates independent variable, so variables that are independent of each other. It observes changes in target variable, and it determines, this is where you're determining that cause and effect. Okay, so yes. Sorry, I was pondering there. This experimental could also be the spelling research because it's determining that cause and effect. So those again are when you're looking at articles, you can look at if there's a lot of graphs and numbers and assertions being made that this is causing this, it's usually a quantitative research methodology. There's also qualitative research methods. Okay? So this qualitative is usually less of a sample size, so you don't sample 1,000 people. You would maybe work with 10 or 12 or 1 or 2. So however, qualitative research gives a richness and a human voice to the data. So instead of never hearing about what individuals believe about the research topic, is this really gives a richness to that particular data. So idiographic or case study, this is when you look at individuals as a lens to examine broader theories. So you're looking at, again, on a small sample size. A case study could be 1 person, could be 10 people, could be 5 people. And it focuses on the uniqueness of the individual rather than developing theories or behavior to be generalized. Generally, from qualitative research methods, you don't make big sweeping generalizations. All grade 3s improved their spelling when they used this particular spelling method. They would say, Billy in grade 3 improved his spelling because of these factors. And this is what Billy had to say about that. Okay. You can also have focus groups. This is usually around data collection, and a focus group usually includes a limited number of respondents from a target market. So if you were doing a focus group, you would target 6 to 10 grade 3 teachers and then focus on those instead of sending a general survey out to every teacher in school district 76. Phenomenological, this is when you conduct interviews, you read documents, you watch videos, and you visit the place or event that you are researching. And you really rely on the participants' own perspectives to provide insights into their motivations. So this is very much looking at a particular phenomenon, getting deep into that phenomena, and then really focusing on the people that this phenomenon is impacting the most. So something like a fire. So the fire in Fort McMurray, how many years ago was that? It's several years ago. A phenomenological, there we go, researcher would have gone there and talked to the actual people about the fire and its impact. Okay. We also have ethnographic. Ethnographic examines the effect of social and or cultural influences on the individual. And I'll have you go to this particular link on your own and just have a little bit of a look. This particular one is a look at a teenager who is in a high school and his experience there. So again, it's very tight. And then you have a narrative inquiry. It examines people's stories. You're not really concerned in narrative inquiry about cause or effect or generalization. You're looking particularly at stories. So I am actually going to, Google. Let's go to Google here. I'm going to bring up a narrative inquiry PDF. Okay, so here, this is my narrative inquiry. I'm a narrator. I am definitely a qualitative researcher and focusing on the narrative inquiry. So this is an article that I wrote several years ago when I was still at the U of C, and I wrote it for the GEMS, Gender Education, Music, and Society. And I looked specifically at 12 singers who then labeled themselves as non-singers. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a jump into what that looks like. Okay, what you're going to do is, again, next class is I'm going to send you some proposals that you can read ahead of time, and you're going to decide whether they're quantitative or qualitative. And I want you to think about what findings would be applicable to the classroom, because ultimately we want this research to be applicable in the classroom, which is, of course, why you are reading it. Okay, finally, around this topic of specific research is there are definitely steps in the research process. So the first step is the observation of the phenomena. So you get out there and you're like, wow, I don't actually know why this is happening in my classroom with my grade 2 students. I don't know why classroom management is such an issue right now. So that's the observation phenomenon. Then you form the question. Okay, so there's an issue with classroom management in my classroom. What are the specifics? What do I notice about this? Do I notice that it's in the morning, that it's in the afternoon? Do I notice that it's a particular time of day? Is it because of socioeconomic situations? So you're starting to form the question. Then you figure out what kind of research method. Do you want to use quantitative, qualitative, and then which one in there? Then you develop a guiding principles. So similar research outcomes regarding the same topic. Then that's where you do all your research. You go, okay, what else is out there around classroom management in lower elementary, in low socioeconomic situations, let's say. Okay, so then you go out there and you research that. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video. And then you develop the theory. So you do your research, you go, oh, that's why. You observe your students, you try some things, and then you make some assertions. And that's ultimately the development of the theory. That's what happens. That's how research kind of happens. So, for example, when you are researching, you usually have several research projects on the go at the same time. Like right now, I'm in basically step 1 of wondering why all teachers in elementary and secondary are charged with differentiation. Why do we not pull students who are reading at a grade 2 level from a grade 1 classroom, a grade 3, a grade 6, a grade 9 classroom, and put them all together so that they can actually really get the support they need to aid in their learning of reading? It's just a question I have right now. It's just a question. It's from my observations. It's just a question. So I'm observing. Okay, so that's where I'm at there. I'm at step 3 in my experiential learning at the post-secondary level. I've done my research on it. I've done my lit review, and now I'm ready to go into step 4, where I'm starting to actually apply it to you guys here at MHC. And I am at the final step where I actually published an article on singing and group singing and listening. And so now I'll start again. So research, you just keep going. So you as a teacher will also go through these steps. See something in your classroom, form a question, start to apply what you're going to learn over the next few years about how to figure out the answer, and then develop some theories from there. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to do a separate video on sort of how to maneuver through the research process while incorporating APA, because you may want to come back to that one in other classes or separately. So I hope you enjoyed that little romp through research in educational psychology.